This is shocking. The extraordinary scale of the rape gang scandal has been exposed by the shocking revelation that one police force alone, right now, is investigating more than 1,000 grooming gang suspects, rape gang suspects. Over 300 Greater Manchester cops are probing claims made by 714 more victims. These are young, vulnerable white girls who say they've been preyed upon by Muslim men of Pakistani heritage. This force is the biggest police force in the land, actually, Manchester, Greater Manchester Police. Of course, encompasses Rochdale, which is the dark heart of the rape gang scandal. So when people say, oh, is this still going on? You bet your bottom dollar it's still going on, and at scale. This is awful, isn't it?
It's terrible. I'm just trying to compute
it's your part of the world,
all of these numbers. You're dealing with, as you say, you're dealing with Rochdale here. You're also dealing with Oldham. You're dealing with Bolton, and you're dealing with Bury.
These are ground zero.
So these are ground zero for all of this thing. I'm from Bury, so I know these places well. If you're talking about Rochdale, you are literally talking about a racially divided town. Okay, the divide between the Asian and the white populations is absolute, right? They really they don't integrate at all, and they simply can't. Now that is the heart of the problem, okay? Because the Asian many of the Asian population, particularly the Pakistani men, as we know, just see white, vulnerable working class girls as fair game for abuse because they are completely on the other side. They don't even see them as human beings. The real problem is that the rest of that community do not deal with it for various reasons, mainly a lot of them because they're frightened, but because it just isn't culturally appropriate for them to deal with it. The police, there is, negotiated policing in these areas as well, so the police are completely ineffective. Okay, they will go in and they will talk to community leaders before they do anything, so there is literally no policing going on, and people wonder why these things carry on and carry on and carry on. On top of all that, you have a liberal elite who will just kind of put their fingers in their ears and close their eyes and just say it isn't happening because, as we said before, diversity is our strength. This is the terrible thing. We are beyond catastrophe, as I said.
Yeah, this is one police force alone. Don't forget, this was happening all over the country. Okay, it's a big police force, but you can rest assured that a lot of other police forces have got similar situations going on. So, people say, oh, the rape gang scandal, it's over. Others say, well, it's still going on. And you think, oh, my God. Well, it's clearly still going on, as I say, at scale. Just to reiterate those numbers, Greater Manchester Police are currently investigating more than 1,000 more rape gang suspects, and these are stories being told by 714 more alleged victims. That is terrible. Meanwhile, it has also emerged today, Philip, that inquiries into the worst sex crime scandal in British history were made much more difficult by Manchester City Council, who apparently redacted vast swathes of the relevant documented evidence. They said due to complex rules allegedly preventing the sharing of personal data. I wonder why they really redacted it. But I mean, this is typical, isn't it? Let's give Manchester City Council the benefit of the doubt and say that they were actually hamstrung by data sharing rules. But shouldn't you be saying, right, rather, these are young girls who've been treated like animals, who've been tortured, who've been raped. Data sharing rules should take second place to that. Let's really not redact this evidence. Let's help the police. It's this attitude that the fate, the plight of these poor girls wasn't that important.
Well, let's just think about Manchester City Council, because they're a really good example, actually. Remember when this stuff broke and everybody was absolutely shocked? You know what Manchester City Council did? Yeah. They really pushed Islamophobia Awareness Month. That was their response to all of this kind of stuff. And that is absolutely at the heart of the problem, isn't it? You know, it's kind of, if you take the most hideous crime of the century and then take an aspect, you know, the perpetrators, or at least, you know, some of the perpetrators, and turn them into victims, then that's what happens up and down this country all the time. Things are turned on their head, and it's a kind of Orwellian way of treating people, and it's always women and children who suffer. And right at the heart of this are blue-haired liberals, who identify as God knows what at any time of the, you know, they are there, and they are pushing agendas, they are making policy, and they are rendering people unsafe because they will not deal with reality. And
there are many in the Guardian reading classes. In fact, some of the Guardian writers, you know, are still saying, oh, this is exaggerated, it's racist to suggest it was very much a Pakistani Muslim problem. Well, it's not actually, it was and is. It really is. When they, you know, people say the disproportionate number of Muslim men of Pakistani heritage were involved in this. Yeah, disproportionate, as in nearly all of them. Yeah. It's as simple as that. So there are still apologists for this. And just to make sure that you're aware of the scale of this, I'm sure you all are, but there are estimated in total to be 250,000 victims of this scourge, probably still going on. That's 250,000 vulnerable young white girls, many of them underage. As I say, I keep saying the scale of this is just staggering.
It's incredible, and you would think that the nature of it as well, and for those of us who've read the transcripts, and I know you have, I mean, I was in tears reading them, because it wasn't just abuse, it was hideous torture. For those of us who actually know what has gone on, it's almost as though the country should stop and we should make this the biggest priority to sort out. But of course it will never be sorted out for all of the reasons I've just said. But they don't want to sort it out. If they do sort it out, then they have to admit that multiculturalism has been devastating for this country, devastating for women, devastating for girls, and it's very difficult to see a way back from it without some kind of cultural revolution.
Yes, and when I think you and I have discussed before, I'm very, very circumspect about public inquiries, because mostly they are a way of kicking the can down the road into the long grass, so politicians, when asked about awkward issues, can say, well, it wouldn't be right for me to comment before the inquiry has reached its conclusions. I give you the COVID inquiry. What a waste of time that is. £300,000 a day that costs, and they're not even looking into whether or not lockdowns worked, which is the only question that should be answered. They've started from the precept that did we lock down early enough, or did we lock down hard enough? The question you should be asking is, should we have locked down at all? And I can give you the answer, save you millions and millions. It's no, but they're not having that. So public inquiries I'm dubious about, but you know, there are issues that are so incendiary, like the rape gang scandal, that it's hard to work out any other logical way of investigating this terrible, terrible crime. So on this occasion, I'm going to say that we do need a public inquiry. In fact, I've always said that. But what I'm building up to, in a very long-winded way actually, is that I hope this inquiry is genuine, that it goes about its job in the spirit of inquiry, because most inquiries don't. They go about it in the spirit of something opposite to inquiry. So I just hope that they conduct this with integrity, to really try to get to the bottom of what happened here and who are the villains of the police. Also, I want the police to go around arresting some of themselves for turning a blind eye. These teachers, these social workers, local politicians, top cops who turned a blind eye because they didn't want to be called racist, they should be brought to justice.
And Manchester is just the classic example for all of this kind of stuff. As you were just saying that, then you were talking, well, they turn a blind eye, they don't want to be called racist. I'm thinking about Salman Abedi and the Manchester Arena bombing, and the poor guy who was a security guard didn't want to say it. He saw the guy.
Saw it and then said,
I don't want to say that, I'm going to be called racist. So in a way, that really sums up where we are, doesn't it? And it sums up priorities. It sums up this idea that actually being shamed for this social ill is much worse than the safety of children. Now, any society that thinks that is quite frankly an insane society. But here we are, because we've had this stuff, this ideology. We are sick with ideology. It's been drummed into us for decade upon decade now. So yes, this stuff does need to be disentangled, but the more you think about it, the more complex it is, because it reaches to every part of society.
Here's the fear. Keir Starmer and the Labour Party and the Labour government were dragged kicking and screaming into this inquiry. They wanted nothing of the sort, as we well know. It was only Baroness Kiszely's report that forced Starmer into saying, all right, we better have an inquiry. Labour don't want it for several reasons, mainly that where most of the worst of this was happening, it was a Labour administration, Labour councillors, Labour people involved up to here. Starmer's record as Director of Public Prosecutions at the time, from 2008 and 2013, not that great, actually. He keeps boasting about it, but he, for many years while he was in charge, nobody was charged with any of these rapes. So he's got questions to ask, so it's uncomfortable for him. So the problem is Labour never wanted this. They were forced into it. Now what we have to look at, folks, what we have to beware of is the parameters. If they start setting parameters, look out for them, because they'll no doubt be geared towards protecting local Labour politicians, top cops, even Keir Starmer. You know what I'm saying? So watch out for the parameters, folks. But I do think we need this inquiry.